In the face of rising cyber threats, cloud providers are responsible for the durability of the infrastructure where your data resides. But when you place data in that cloud, who's responsible for the resiliency, the consistency, and the validity of your data? Well, Chadd Kenney, VP of Product at Clumio, is here with the answers. So, Chadd, I started with this question about data responsibility, and the actual answer may surprise some people. Tell us where that responsibility lies and how Clumio provides a solution.
So this was a really interesting one early on in our journey where customers, I think, believed that there was this magic in the cloud where, data was just protected by default. And I think it was a bit of a shock at some point when, they started to review the shared responsibility model where, of course, the cloud manages the infrastructure, but infrastructure durability doesn't mean data resilience. And they started to look at all sorts of different options to try to figure this whole thing out. And I think there's native utilities and the like that people were looking at, but you've got all sorts of issues that come around the data sets, forgetting just compliance and regulatory stuff. But there's a lot of bad stuff that happens out there, whether it's an accidental deletion or if it's a software error or a malicious attack of sorts. And so people really needed to better understand this whole kind of shared responsibility model to ensure that they had the correct protection in place. And so it's 100% the customer's responsibility. That's the crazy part that I think a lot of customers don't realize. And they think that, magically it gets protected. And so that's really where we come in to try to help them.
So now AI and machine learning are creating a mountain of unstructured data in the cloud, including data lakes. How does Clumio protect data at that scale?
This is an interesting one because the new architectures of the cloud effectively has generated massive amounts of capacity, and most of which is in object storage and highly scalable, highly durable storage that people leverage in a decoupling between capacity and compute. And what was interesting here is that the legacy mindset of data protection was very much around the VM or the compute machine that held all of the data together. But as this transition in the cloud opened up this massive scale, and we're talking petabytes, tens of petabytes, billions and billions of objects, the old mindsets of like a highly scalable file system to try to take in a bunch of VMs no longer worked in the cloud. And so what we did is we built a platform based on functions, mostly Lambda functions, that's highly event-driven. We call it the Kubernetes of Lambda functions that orchestrates massive amounts of compute in order to scale to really any size environment. In fact, we just recently announced that we could do 30 billion objects in a single bucket and be able to fully protect that all the way out to the exabyte level. And the reason why this is important is so much new data is being generated in the cloud, from SaaS solutions to AI ML workloads to media and various different types of information now that needs to be protected, but needs to be done so at just massive scale. And that's really where Clumio was built, was to take the advantage of the infinite compute and the infinite scale of the cloud and be able to provide customers a solution for those next generation applications that will drive all of this new data growth.
And for businesses that run applications in the cloud, what features provide instant recovery to keep those applications alive in the case of an outage?
Yeah, this is the other fun thing with this high velocity and massive change that's going on in this data. This whole backup every 24 hours thing flew right out the window, right? Like nobody wants a 24-hour, data loss in the event that, something happens in their environment. And so customers started demanding, I want continuous backup. I want backup that's always occurring. But at the scope and scale, the next logical thing was, how am I going to recover this thing? It's petabytes of data. This could take weeks, if not months, to recover. And so one of the big announcements that we brought out was not only continuous protection at reInvent this year, but also the ability to do instant access to the backup. And this was really the first time that a customer was able to get access to potentially petabytes of data instantaneously via an endpoint that we provide to the end customer. So think about this for a sec. You've got some sort of software issue or a malicious attack, and you need to get access to maybe tens of hundreds of terabytes of data. I can give it to you instantly in a secure fashion and allow that end user to get back up and running with an RTO of near zero without having to do any of the recovery at all. And this solution will continue to evolve because newer and newer type of innovations will come about where, customers will want to be able to do asynchronous recovery where they'll read and then, write to the new location, a bunch of fun stuff. But really, those are the demands of new modern applications are be able to do massive scale, continuous backups and that instant recovery.
And at the top of every business and organization's mind and when it comes to security is denial of service attacks. Can Clumio help with ransomware recovery?
So one of the big differences with our solution, let's just say versus using native data protection in the public cloud itself, is most of that data is stored inside the customer's account or vaulted in one of the customer's accounts. Our solution is air-gapped outside of the customer's environment. Why that's important is it's outside of the access controls of that customer. And it's stored in a highly secure service with very rapid recovery mechanisms. And so what's nice here is that the customer, even if they're infiltrated with a ransomware attack, that ransomware or bad actor has no access to the backup. And so we give customers then the ability to always be able to recover no matter what. We even went as far as to not have a delete button. You can't even, if you were to get access to Clumio, go delete a backup. And while we do provide the ability to do deletions if you want, we make you go through many steps and DocuSigns to ensure that we're not being socially engineered to do so. But that's how important it is for us to have this data somewhere else. It's kind of like why you don't keep all your money in your house. You put it in a bank and it's air-gapped away from you. So if the house burns down, you don't lose all your money. And it provides some layer of security out to there. And so ransomware, it's important to have it away from it and have that fast recovery together.
So what industries are best served with this extra layer of protection?
So regulated environments love our solution, right? Because we provide not only the great compliance, reporting, cost effectiveness for them to be able to store things for long-term retention. But anyone who's got critical customer data, which you're starting to see a very, very large growth in, where it's personal identifiable information, customer information that's being generated from these applications. People want to make sure that that's securely stored somewhere else, and they have good tracking for compliance and for regulatory compliance and all those kind of fun things along the way. But I'd say we've seen great success in technology because that's where the biggest grower is, of course. Financial industries, huge because there's a lot of personal identifiable information. We've seen a really big growth in kind of the more regulated environments that are out there, healthcare and the like. And people who really are starting to advance quickly to the cloud. Some of the next generation companies that are just starting out that are cloud native are looking for solutions such as ours to simplify data protection, make it incredibly easy to consume, and then operationalize it in a more cost-effective manner than doing it natively in the cloud itself.
Well, Chadd, thank you for your insights. I'm sure this information is going to change the fate of a lot of businesses. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
And for those listening, thank you for joining us today. And if you enjoyed our discussion, then be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more related content. Also, you can read the latest articles about cloud and data infrastructure at techrepublic.com. Until next time.